Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, which as usual, I'm recording the day before you see it. So I'm recording this December 30. You'll be looking at it December 31, New Year's Eve day. So let me take the opportunity to say Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you all have a great New Year. And boy, this past year went fast. At least it did for me. Maybe for you too. I'll probably do a vlog to be posted on New Year's Day, but it'll probably be just a short Happy New Year vlog, nothing worth. If you have other things to do, don't feel like you have to put time aside to watch the vlog. It's just going to be just a generic message. I'm not going to talk about anything substantive. So I'll make this the last substantive vlog of the year, the one I'm doing right now. First, let me give you an interesting poll here. Well, I'll give you two of them. The first one, I'm not going to put it up. I'll just tell you that I looked at RasmussenReports.com. They're the only ones that do a daily presidential poll. Well, they do it 5 days a week. It's a 3-day average of likely voters. To my knowledge, they're the only ones doing it. Trump's rating today, approval rating, was, or is, I guess, since it's still today for me, 46%, which is pretty much where it is, though he's been up to 50 and even 51%. But what matters, if that seems a little low, Obama's rating for the same day at the same time of his presidency was 47%, so just 1% more. And this is actually the first time in probably a couple of weeks that Obama's rating has even been higher at all. In recent history of this poll, Trump has been a good 2-3 points ahead of where Obama was at the same point in his presidency. Which leads me into the next poll. This is the Gallup poll. It's one they do every year, and actually I found this one a little surprising myself. America's most admired man and most admired woman. I would have expected, with all the media attacks that Trump gets, 99%, or well, not 99%, I'm sorry, that's wrong, up to 96% negative coverage. All the stories about him, definitely over 90%. It varies, but it's always over 90% since he's been president. But the most admired man is Barack Obama, which may not surprise you, but Donald Trump is number one too. It's a tie. Barack Obama and Donald Trump are both tied for most admired man in America. So I found that interesting myself. Now you're probably wondering, most admired woman. And the most admired woman is Michelle Obama, but number two is Melania Trump. She's the second most admired woman in America after Michelle Obama. And again, after all these, well, there have not been that many attacks on Melania Trump. What has been most noticeable to me is how little coverage she gets, which I think if she got more coverage, if she got the same amount and as favorable coverage as Michelle Obama got during Barack Obama's presidency, then I could see Melania Trump being number one, because she, well, you don't see her on many magazine covers, which is really odd when you consider that she's a former model, that she's beautiful, and that she is a great dresser. Well, I mean, I'm not really knowledgeable about fashion, but to me she seems like she's very fashionable. I guess my female visitors can advise me in the comments on this. But I just wanted to give you that information too, which leads me into the main subject, which is, well, it goes into Trump being more popular than you would think from the press coverage he gets, but you also are seeing, as I've mentioned in the past, the shift of black voters to Donald Trump. It's really been, well, it's been gratifying to me because, well, I hope more Jewish voters would do the same thing, take a look at Trump, especially, and this will be a future vlog. I would have done it today or in the next day, but I really want to wait till after New Year's. But these attacks on Jews, these anti-Semitic attacks, especially in my former adopted home of New York City, because I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. So I'm going to read you an article, Awakening, Black Voters Abandoned by Democrats Warm to Trump. Former NFL player Jack Brewer once raised campaign money for President Barack Obama, but now he's among the increasing number of black voters who support President Trump. Quote, "There's an awakening going on right now in the country," unquote, Mr. Brewer said of black voters who traditionally support Democrats. Quote, "I'm going to take the guy who's actually putting in the policies that are going to make life better for my young black son and my young black daughter versus somebody who gives me lip service, like, unfortunately, the Democrats have done for our community for years," unquote. Mr. Trump and his re-election team are aggressively courting black voters amid a strong economy that has reduced black unemployment to 5.5%, lowest in history. The Trump campaign launched its, quote, Black Voices for Trump, unquote, coalition in Atlanta last month. Now let me just jump in here for a second, interrupt the quotes, and talk about a story you may remember from a while back where ICE raided, I think it was a chicken processing plant, something like that, and arrested 700 illegal immigrants. And of course there was a big brouhaha, a lot of complaints from Democrats, and one of the complaints was, well, these illegal immigrants are doing jobs that, or we're doing jobs that Americans wouldn't do. Well, guess what? All those jobs have been filled, and the employees, I believe they are all or mostly black. That is one difference between the Republicans, Trump, and the Democrats. He's creating jobs, 5.5% unemployment, and it's because, well, even Hispanics, when I used to live in Harlem, even Hispanics, legal Hispanics, they are against illegal immigration just as much as anybody else who is against illegal immigration is against illegal immigration because of the jobs it takes away from Americans, especially those Americans that are getting in on the lower rungs of the ladder and they need to work their way up. Well, you can't work your way up if you can't get on the ladder in the first place. But getting back to the quotes, quote, "The Democrats have let you down," unquote, Mr. Trump told black supporters at the time. Quote, "They've dismissed you, they've hurt you, they've sabotaged you for far too long," unquote. The campaign has also paid for full-page, full-color advertisements promoting Mr. Trump in 11 local black newspapers across the nation and radio spots on urban radio stations nationwide. And I'll just jump in here again, should have been done a long time ago. So congratulations to Donald Trump that he is doing this. And this is the important point, getting back to the quotes, "There's some evidence that the president's policies and campaign outreach are making inroads with black voters. 3 polls in November showed Mr. Trump's job approval rating among black voters in the 30% to 35% range, a significant increase over other surveys that have generally shown black voter support of less than 10%. And in fact, Trump's share of the black vote when he ran in 2016 was 8%. And I showed you these polls earlier in previous vlogs. I showed you one was Emerson, one was, well, I forget which the 3 were, but they were reputable polls, and yeah, 30% to 35%. So Keep up the good work, President Trump. Said another Trump advisor, quote, "One thing the president's done is to try to govern for everybody. Even those who didn't vote for him in the last election are now seeing a lot of results in their communities, and we're seeing the poll numbers amongst all those groups grow in a way that creates a lot of opportunities." Unquote. Mr. Brewer, a lifelong Democrat and entrepreneur who played for 3 NFL teams, said Mr. Trump is working much harder than any Republican candidate in his lifetime to reach out to black voters. So again, could have been done, should have been done long ago. I hope future Republican candidates will pick up on what Trump is doing, build on it, and again, as I said before, reach out to Jewish voters too, like me. I mean, well, you don't have to reach out to me. I've already been reached. I became a conservative a long time ago, but I can guarantee there are plenty more prospective party switchers among the Jewish community out there. Quote, "Donald Trump will get over 20% of the black vote," unquote, Mr. Brewer said in an interview. Quote, "That is what's going to win the election. Why? Because there hasn't been a Republican to even try to go in and talk to the black community. They don't go there. They don't even try. I think he's trying, finally," unquote. But, well, as you would expect, but Democratic leaders say Mr. Trump is a racially divisive president who attacks outspoken black people as a, quote, "dog whistle," unquote, to appeal to white voters, and that black voters will not join his campaign in significant numbers. Well, that reminds me of a saying I heard: if you can hear the dog whistle, then you're the dog. But, well, a racially divisive president who is getting approval ratings from black voters ranging from 30% to 35%. Okay, I mean, if you want to whistle past the graveyard, you can do that, just as you keep denying that the economy has been great for not just black people. And that is the important point, that Trump is not governing to target or to appease or pander to any particular group. He just governs for everybody. The policies that he puts into place, cutting tax rates, cutting regulations, they are helping everybody, and that is including everybody on the lower income range. They are benefiting the most. I just read an article just recently that they have achieved the greatest percentage increase in their income, and it was the right way. What do I mean by the right way? It's not by creating a government program. It's not by a government law raising the minimum wage. It's by a strong economy where there are more jobs than people to fill those jobs, and that causes employers and prospective employers to offer more, to raise the salaries, to offer more, to get the workers. That's how you do it. You create a strong economy where there is a demand for workers, and then employers, they have no choice. They have to raise their salaries to get those workers. That is how it works. But don't try to tell that to a Democrat, because they don't understand that. And that's one of the reasons I think that Trump is doing so much better. Well, we'll see what happens in the election, but if these numbers hold, that's why he's doing so much better. Because voters of all income brackets and of all races and all religions, but especially these black voters who have been left behind by the Democrats, they get it. They are seeing it. They are feeling the results. So again, my Democratic friends, if you want to whistle past the graveyard, go ahead, whistle past the graveyard. Representative Karen Bass, California Democrat and chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, said Mr. Trump falls back on racial rhetoric when he wants to create a distraction from his, quote, corrupted behavior, unquote. And this relates to another vlog that I plan to be doing in the very near future, because we're really looking at two identical peas in the same pod. This constant accusation that Trump is a racist. You can couple that with another accusation that Donald Trump who has a Jewish daughter, a Jewish son-in-law, who recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, who moved the embassy to Jerusalem after so many presidents promised to do it and didn't do it, accusing Trump of being anti-Semitic. It is just ridiculous as accusing Trump of being a racist. You can go onto your favorite search engine and find photos of Donald Trump with, well, of all people, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Don King, well, and obviously with Kanye West, if we're talking about recent history, but all these other black figures who denounce him today as a racist, they weren't doing that before he ran for president. Back to the quotes, and let me give you a little heads up here. Comedy relief coming up in just a few seconds. Quote, "The list of regressive and racist policies proposed by Donald Trump's administration is long and sad," unquote, the CBC Congressional Black Caucus said in a statement. Quote, "To add insult to injury, we have to hear him and his supporters tout the lowest black unemployment rate in history, even though," this is the funny part coming up here, "even though he inherited President Barack Obama's economy and has never championed a single policy or program for black people." Well, she's right on that last point. He championed policies for everybody, and everybody means everybody includes black people. But the funny part, in case you missed it, was this part about inheriting President Barack Obama's economy. Yeah, Trump did nothing. He completely reversed Obama's policies, economic policies, as soon as he got into office, but we're still operating under Barack Obama's economy. Okay. All right, I'm not going to argue with you. If you believe that, go ahead and believe it. And again, whistle past the graveyard. The liberal Brookings Institution said in a recent report that the 5 U.S. metropolitan areas with the largest black populations, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, and Washington, D.C., have seen black median household incomes increase from 7% in Washington to 21% in Atlanta. Trump campaign officials say more than 1.4 million new jobs have been created for black workers since Mr. Trump's inauguration. But of course, Barack Obama did that. You didn't build that, Donald Trump, to take an overused phrase by Barack Obama. You didn't build that, Donald Trump. Barack Obama did. Well, actually, the American worker built that. But to me, it's just funny. I mean, the Brookings Institution is a very liberal think tank. And they admit, too, that how well black populations have done under Donald Trump. It's just part of this. Well, they're a think tank, and I wouldn't expect them to say one way or the other. But it's just amazing how Democrats, they go so much out of their way not to give Donald Trump credit for anything, and they also refuse to work with him because they don't want to give him a win. When he is reelected, if he is, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in his second term. Since he can't run again, there really is no logic to not working with him and giving him wins except pure spite, because we would no longer be talking about damaging Donald Trump before an election, because there won't be another election. That would be his last term in office. No reason not to work with him except out of spite. It's going to be interesting, therefore, to see what happens. Well, what I'm hoping, actually, is that the Republicans will take back the House, keep the Senate, Trump is reelected, and then the Democrats just won't be a factor. Unless the Democrats in the Senate filibuster, that would be their last refuge. Other than that, they just won't be a factor. They certainly will not be a factor in the House, so that's what I'm hoping for. Back to the quotes. The president said Democrats, quote, have abandoned, unquote, black people. Quote, before the election, they start courting, unquote, black voters, he said. Quote, the election is over, and then they leave them. We did just the opposite. What we've done for Hispanic, for African American, for minorities, what we've done is unprecedented, unquote. And also unprecedented is his 30 to 35% approval rating among black voters. I don't think the two are a coincidence. I am 100% sure that the two are related. Mr. Trump and his campaign team say he is reshaping a new Republican coalition. Quote, "Every day we're welcoming more and more people to our movement from every background, traditional Democrats, independent, union members," unquote, the president said. Quote, "We're growing untraditionally. We're taking in workers now. The Republican Party is growing like nobody's ever seen before," unquote. Well, time will tell. We'll have to, as Donald Trump says so often, we'll see what happens. We'll have to wait for the election and see what the results are. But if it does turn out the way it looks to me it's going to turn out, it's going to be interesting to see what the Democrats do, what the Democrats say. Will they continue to deny that Trump has really brought in the Republican Party and taken from them a lot of their voters, that Trump has brought a lot of Democrats into the Republican Party, and especially, again, black voters? Are they going to admit it? Are they going to, as I've said in past vlogs, sit down and, well, not talk to black voters, the black voters who will have left the Democratic Party, except to ask, why did you leave? And listen to them and change. I am not going to hold my breath, but again, as Trump says, we'll see what happens. I predict that the sound that you hear, that you will hear after the results come in, and the exit poll results especially come in, so that the public gets to see who made up the voters who reelected Trump, that sound you hear will probably be liberal heads exploding. That's my prediction, and if that is what happens, then I don't know about you, but for me, 2020 will be a very happy new year indeed. And that's it for today. Again, have a happy new year, and thumbs up if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comments section below the video. Same thing for any suggestions for future topics or questions you might have. You can also subscribe. I love getting subscribers. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And most of all, come back and see me again in the new year. I look forward to seeing all of you, and until I do see all of you, bye.